Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nika Sherrill, and this is the ItCast Real Talk on Sex. The ItCast is our community outreach podcast that aims to increase diversity in conversations on health and sexuality. Through this work, we are creating a world where all people feel loved, honored, and respected. Join us this October for our Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit coming up on October 23rd and 24th. The Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit creates a safe space where all people feel come together and will embrace humanity, diversity, and liberation of sexual health globally. Tickets are on Eventbrite, and you can learn more about that event at nikasherrells.com or theitcast.com. Visit us on Patreon to support the ItCast and learn more about our work at theitcast.com. Our 10-year anniversary is coming up, and we are having a pop-up on October 1st in downtown Oakland. We invite everyone out there to come and join us. It'll be at Zanzi, and we'll have more information about that as well on our website. So please do come and join us and celebrate 10 years. Subscribe to this channel and let's get into the conversation. So this week's topic is real talk on body shaming. And today in the booth, we have Dr. Mandy Nezami. Dr. Mandy Nezami is a public health nutritionist and registered dietitian, specializing in adult and adolescent nutrition for over 24 years. Now, Mandy has also been teaching for the last 15 years at various colleges and universities. She is an intuitive eating dietitian. Her approach to health is holistic through bringing simplicity to diet and teaching nutrition as a lifestyle. Mandy, please join us in the booth.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really great. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation with your listeners.
Yeah. So before we get into the conversation, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and anything you want us to know to be related?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So as Nika mentioned, my name is Mandy, and I have been a registered dietitian for, I can't believe it's been 24 years. So what is a registered dietitian is somebody who has a bachelor's degree and then they have to sit through the exam and do an internship for a year. And then I pursued my education further. I got a master's, actually got two, and then I got my PhD in public health, and nutrition was my passion. And this conversation is very dear to my heart because it really started my education. And so it kind of ties into kind of getting related to me. And because I dealt with, overweight, and since I was 14, and I wanted to know, okay, how can I eat the most amount of foods without gaining weight or not being teased or made fun of for my weight. And as a dietitian, working in the field for years and years, I've learned a lot. And I'm really happy to share this conversation and hopefully support some of us that might be dealing with our weight, and get shamed, food shamed, body shamed, so again, that's kind of why I'm here, and a little bit about me. I work in a hospital full time. I manage the nutrition department. So I do practice medical nutrition therapy. And of course, I believe that. And I think that overall, looking at more of an intuitive and holistic approach to nutrition has been a lot more fulfilling, and I see results. So we'll definitely get into that in a bit, but that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation. I've been plus size, overweight, whatever we're calling it, since I was very little, maybe around age 4 or so. And so I went through a lot of body shaming and teasing and so much throughout elementary and clear through high school. I've never been someone that's been thin. So I love that we're having this conversation, and I'm excited about, the fact that we don't talk that much about body shaming. We talk, and we don't talk that much about food shaming. We talk about a bunch of other things, but diets and weight loss and stuff, and we don't talk about like the other side of it. So
yeah, there's a lot of great work. Again, I kind of said a little bit about my background, so I will be bringing some of the science and the research behind what I'm saying. And one of the people that I really respect and follow in this topic is Dr. Janet Tomiako, and she's from UCLA, and she does a lot of work on looking at weight stigma. It's another term, more scientific term for body shaming, and looking at stress and how this whole cycle gets created. And again, I felt like nobody needed to tell me about it in science. I experienced it, right? So that's kind of where I want to connect with our listeners. Like if you grew up and you didn't look like the specific poster, on a billboard or in a magazine or in, just like looking the way that there's this whole norm, and
they tell you you're supposed to look.
Right. Like, like Barbie, that was like what I grew up to. So there you go. There's my age.
We must be the same age.
Little girls are like, what? Barbie? What's that? It's like, what? Yeah. Back in the day, there was this thing, it was called Barbie. That you were supposed to look like. And so again, that's literally why I went into the field. I wanted to know what I could do for myself. And I've been like in that quest for our patients. Again, I took a turn in like working in the hospital and like really doing more management, but like looking at the policies, creating policies that support, and how do we stop this management? Because again, one of the things we see is shaming in general is used as a tool. There's a lot of great work. One of my favorite authors, Brene Brown, talks about shaming. If you're interested in that topic, I highly encourage it, but it's really used as a tool. And so, again, one of the things I want all of us to kind of get out of today is really, how do I combat some of this? Like, how do I stop that negative cycle? Because it's completely is this negative cycle that keeps happening, because you start with, your weight, wherever you are, and then there's stress. And we know that when you're stressed, what happens when you're stressed? Your cortisol levels go up. You have your oxidative stress is happening, which is completely shutting down your metabolism. So here you are, right? Your weight is going up, and then the stress isn't allowing for you to actually lose any of the weight. Your body is in like fight or flight mode. It's thinking like, I'm going to hold on to all this fat because I don't know what's going on. A lot of times, people solution is, I'm going to do a cleanse. I'm going to do a fast. I'm going to do this like quick fix. And people don't like that. People don't like to talk about it, but it doesn't work. Like as a dietitian, I tell people dieting doesn't work. And honestly, I see it all the time where people are like, oh, okay, that's nice. All right. Well, somebody who does give a diet, like give me one. Where is the quick fix? Where is the, cleanse of the product? And I'm not saying sometimes cleanses could be beneficial, but just in general, it's like, if you're looking at that as a way to lose weight quickly, it's completely counterintuitive.
Right.
Because, it causes to lose your water weight, and you are hangry, which is hungry and unhungry at the same time, right? And then you have to manage and deal with some of the other stuff that are that you're,
Yeah.
like then you have to manage all of that, because then you end up gaining all the weight back as soon as you stop. And again, those things are not things that are sustainable. Like you can't stay on a cleanse forever.
Right.
So you end up losing more muscle mass, you end up losing and actually gain more fat in the process.
Yeah, like the body goes into like survival mode, I think, as you were saying. And like
Mm-hmm.
I have done a lot of like dieting and weight loss stuff in my life, just because that's what they tell overweight people they have to do. Like it's like this requirement to be socially acceptable, and it just doesn't work for us in like you said, in terms of our actual, like our bodies operating with us. One of the things that you mentioned was fasting, and like, like crash dieting don't work. One of the things that I look at or want to point out is like, what's the intention behind it? Like you said, fasting and cleanses can be good, but if your intention is, I mean, I would almost want to say, like, okay, let me not put that out there. If your intention is to rapidly lose weight, there could be something else going on. And I look at like different, like eating disorders, like anorexia, bulimia, binging and purging. And like, it's like at a certain point we have to question where the line is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because there is the difference between eating disordered versus disordered eating is exactly that. So when we continuously are dealing with like being shamed, being body shamed, fat shamed, right? And then kind of our reaction is, okay, I'm going to start dieting, right? Then it kind of puts you in this negative cycle of eventually getting to, you start with disordered eating. So you're not, like you're fasting, you're not eating for a while, you're following these super hard diets, like eat 7 eggs a day. I don't know, like there's so many things. I mean, again, I can totally date myself again by talking about the cabbage soup diet. Somebody out there is here, like knows what I'm talking about. Right. So like, like the South Beach, the this, the that, the next thing. And count your macros, count your micros. And I'm not saying any of that. Again, this is what I do for a living. And I'm just saying that it doesn't work long term. And it's not, again, if we don't love what we have, and we can't really create that, okay, I'm going to listen to my body and eat what I feel like gives me nutrition, keeps me healthy, and it tastes good, like I'm enjoying my food, then again, what's going to happen is this whole negative cycle that keeps repeating. And a lot of times we do see eating disorders. I mean, eating disorders is, it's more prevalent, especially in California, where I'm, from, like in Southern California, we see a high number, 1 out of every 3 girls in college are dealing with some kind of disordered eating. I mean, those are really, really high numbers. And again, it's just all of that stigma, social media. Social media has so much influence on how we look and feel about our body. And no one's having these conversations like, oh, well, this person was, like they photoshopped this or that, or just, it's like we don't see normal, quote unquote size people, that are taking action for their health. And then I think the other conversation I really want to talk about is the collapse between health and weight.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so I think if anything, COVID has really brought this up, right? We're at the age of COVID still here with us. And I think a lot of people are scratching their heads like, well, this person looked like they were so healthy, and what happened? And again, we associate our quote unquote thinness with our health, and it's not necessarily so.
Right.
So again, really keeping in mind, just because someone's thin doesn't mean that they're healthy. And health is a function of so many factors, like, and again, as an intuitive dietitian, we don't even follow or focus on weight. We look at other markers. We look at your bio, the anthropometrics, like it could be, like some of the other, your body fat percentages, your water weight, some of those things that that might make a bigger impact, or muscle mass, your lab work, some of your other lab profiles that can really impact and support you in some other ways. I see a couple of questions in the
Yes.
chat. I'm gonna go to them. So one of the questions is, how can you check your cortisol levels without having a blood test? Well, I don't think that, at least as far as I know, there hasn't been a test that you could check your cortisol levels without really checking your blood. And those cortisol stay in your system. Yeah, I mean, we all have a level of cortisol that's healthy. We're supposed to have a level of our cortisol, but when it's chronically up, during times of stress, then our body's producing extra cortisol. And that's when it becomes an issue, and it's chronic and it's continuously going up. Again, I think sometimes we can get really stuck with like, oh, let me check this lab and let me check that, as opposed to, okay, how can I manage my stress? Again, if there's one thing I want to leave everyone here with, is nutrition is about a lifestyle. And it's about like, what are you doing for you? And it comes with, first and foremost, your self-love. You're taking care of you. You're eating things that feel good, but also nourish your body. Are you sleeping? Are you exercising? Like, again, we don't use the term exercise in the intuitive. We use the word moving your body, because it's not about like, okay, I hit the gym and, or I ran a half marathon. It's about like, what can you do for you?
Yeah.
Right.
Like overdoing it and throwing yourself into this like, into this like workout frenzy. It's like I work out and I only do things that are fun.
Yeah, like dancing could be like something that you do, or, going out. Like I have a good friend of mine, and she's an excellent dancer. And it, like she said, it started with like going to, this is when, all the clubs were open. I don't know if they're open now. I'm sorry. They're not. They might be open now. I have no idea. But, like that's what like she would do. She would just go and dance and like really enjoy and like for a couple hours. And like she loved it so much. She started dancing every day. And like she was in a competition about a month or so ago, and I got to watch it. It was amazing. Like, again, and if you see her, you're not like, oh my God, she looks like a supermodel. No, she looks beautiful and voluptuous and healthy.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, yeah.
I totally agree with everything you're saying. It's like, to look at like correlating weight size and health. I was always a very active kid, very active. And at a certain point, it was like I had a large muscle mass and I was a large person, but I would consider myself to be healthier than some of my like thinner friends, diet wise, activity wise, so many things. We had another comment that says sometimes families body shame because they're concerned with your health. Concerned with is in quotes. And yeah, it's like, it's that exact correlation to, oh, you're fat, let's fix you.
Yeah. I mean, and we absolutely see this over and over. I mean, there's studies on weight stigma and weight gain. And we see this negative cycle where, again, as you're experiencing this negative weight shaming or gain, then you're actually gaining more weight. Again, we can't say it's because of it, but again, there's definitely correlations. And I see another question about families body shaming because they're concerned with your health. This is another really, really big example. People will say, I care about you. Like you're getting fat. Again, a lot of times parents do this as a way because they're genuinely concerned, and again, using a shaming tool as a way to quote unquote help and support instead of like really getting curious about, okay, well, what's going on, and like really bringing acceptance to the situation. Maybe it has something to do with like you're not sleeping, right? Because we also see those studies about people who are not sleeping have a significant weight gain. If you're sleeping less than 7 hours a day, then your cortisol levels are higher. Betty, like that was another. And then you are more likely to overeat because you, again, when those cues are there, then you're feeling more hungry. And then again, the whole intuitive eating platform is based upon being able to listen to your body and actually get and hear the cues. So the moment that you're full, you stop. You are not eating. But again, we don't even hear that a lot of times. Like you're so tired that you're just like eating and not, eating as for numbness, eating for, again, social, right? If you're in a social event, like that could be, eating and drinking. So those are all, and again, it's just, especially if you're quote unquote dieting, right? It's like, oh my God, I was dieting for 2 weeks and then I went out one night and I had like food and wine and now I gained it all back, right? And that creates that whole negative cycle as opposed to, this is a lifestyle. Like I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Can I do this? Can I follow this for the rest of my life? If the answer is yes, then great. And if no, then don't do that. Again, because you want to think about it. This is something personal for me. I am a huge fan of exercise. And like right before COVID hit, I was training I signed up for my first 70.3, which is a half Ironman. And again, so that community, the sports community is huge, like eating disorders and disordered eatings are huge, right? And again, exercise is definitely a tool for stress management. And so I was heading like about 2.5 hours a day of exercise, right? Between like swimming and biking and running, right? Because that's what you do. And like 2 weeks before the race, everything got canceled. I didn't do my race. I actually haven't done it. And I like went from that to, again, like working in a hospital. Our work started to really get busy, right? Everyone else closed and we were even busy. So I started working even more and stopped and really had to deal with this. So again, I really had to rediscover this conversation of, like, how do I manage my weight as a dietitian, all the pressures that I feel, as I am, talking to a patient, a coworker, a fellow director, my CEO, right, at the school with my students. Like, how do I stand as someone who's advocating health, right? Not being quote unquote that perfect body. And it's like, I was like, it's like my joke. I'm like, I'm going to take some of my own medicine, right? Because all I wanted to do was like go on a diet, right? And I'm like, no, I gave my word, like no dieting. I am not dieting. I am being mindful of what I put in my body and I'm not dieting. I am not doing that because I know it doesn't work. I've tried it a million times. So again, what I want to say is it's a process. It's a journey. It's
Yeah.
not like a destination. You don't get somewhere. And I think that's what gets missed sometimes in the health journey. Like people don't, you're told like, oh yeah, here, like buy these products from me and do these things and drink these shakes and like eat, organic spinach. And then like after a month, then you'll be good. Right. Then you can go back to eating like burgers and fries. And then it's like month after month after month. And it's like at one point you're just like, forget it. Like, I can't do this. I can't live off of a shake. I can't live off of organic spinach
Yeah.
or kale. So again, it just like, and like really getting that is causing you more damage than good.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you to look a certain way as a dietitian?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like you walk into a patient room and you want to say like, hi, my name is Mandy. I'm your dietitian. Like we want to talk about like managing your diabetes. We want to talk about, like how to count carbohydrates. We want to talk about like renal disease. We want to talk about your potassium levels. And it's like, it's right there. It's right there. Like, like who are you to tell me, if you can't manage this yourself, right? If you don't look a certain way. And again, it's just about our society, like, not like, again, weight is such a multifactorial thing. Like, like I was born with a specific bone structure. I was born in a family, with very specific genes, like we all do. And we all look, right before, like Betty was talking about her family and, how like the woman in her family were this way. And it's like, there's so much to respect in that and appreciate in that and honor in that, as opposed to, well, you don't look like every other person that's supposed to be on a billboard, so this isn't okay.
Okay, so I didn't hear you mention this earlier, but I'm wondering if they still use the body mass index as a calculator for weight, or like.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we haven't talked about it. So body mass index is like the gold standard in calculating. And again, who knows how they really came up. Again, everything in nutrition has been researched and tested, but it's all inside of a very limited understanding. And we do know that the BMI does not account for your muscle mass. It doesn't account for your bone structure. So we definitely acknowledge that. So again, the latest recommendations want us to use BMI with the waist circumference, so we could have a better understanding of. But even that, again, if you're a small framed, BMI could probably work a little bit better for you than if you're not.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't really tell you anything about, well, what is your fat mass? What is your muscle mass? Where is the distribution in the body? So sometimes you see somebody with a perfect BMI where that it's actually not the case. Like they're actually dealing with, central obesity or central adiposity. So I think that's something to definitely be mindful of. I see another.
Yeah, we got a couple over here in the chat. So so this comment was from earlier. It says, I hear that it's also about taking the emotions out of eating. And I believe that's when you were speaking about like actually like eating and overeating. And
yeah, that's a great one. So again, one of the strategies that I work with people on is to really support them in finding ways to deal with stress as opposed to eating, because eating is such a go-to. And it's just not an effective way to deal with your stress. So again, can you take a walk instead of, like eating? and or giving yourself 20 minutes. So one of the other strategies that I really, really like is just, like you are eating your specific amount that you feel like is a good amount for you, and then giving yourself 20 minutes. It takes about 20 minutes from the time where we're actually full, till our stomach tells our brain so that we know that we're actually full. And then and just giving yourself full permission that if after 20 minutes I'm still hungry, I have full permission to eat whatever else I want. So that's another thing that I think really helps in in that. And then again, just there's doing even if a 5-minute meditation. I'm a big proponent of that for myself, because again, it really helps with clarity. And again, it could look whatever you want it to look. I think we get, either so many, oh, it should be this way or that way. Like for me, I do a 5-minute meditation with my eyes open, and sorry for the gods of, meditation if I'm doing it wrong, but that is what I can do sometimes. And sometimes I do a 20-minute full on, I do something called sitting, which is a little bit, I don't know if it's different than meditation, but whatever you want to call it, just giving yourself a few minutes and really just allowing all those voices in your head just to calm down. And then you can really hear am I even hungry? What's happening for me? Is it am I sad? Am I hungry? Am I upset? Am I angry? What is it? Really, sometimes, again, I grew up as an emotional eater, so I really relate to it. For me, food was the thing, and I love food, and I eat, I want to eat everything, and I'm always hungry. So if I don't know, maybe there's others where they're just I am always hungry. I could always eat. People say, oh no, I'm good. I'm thinking really? Oh my God, you must have a gift.
Right.
I can't, but how do I create that balance where I feel satisfied?
This reminds me of when I was a kid, and I don't know if you experienced this ever, but the things that we were taught about food. And when I was very young, there was this conversation of oh, there are children starving all over the world, eat all of your food. And it didn't matter at a certain point, if I was full, if I didn't clean my plate, I was disrespecting someone. And it actually, when you talk about not stopping eating when you feel full, I feel like there's a correlation to that. I'm going to push through this, or not to say, but Thanksgiving was always a time to push through and then pass out. That's how we eat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm absolutely, one of the practices of intuitive eating is that we have someone make their favorite dish, have it, and then as soon as they're full to throw away the rest of it. And I found that so hard because I grew up with what are you doing? Starving kids and in China, or in Iran for that matter, and it was so hard. Just even to this day, again, working in the food industry and managing, when we have to throw things away, now we have a whole program that we're donating our foods, but for a lot, I was so I was determined to find a way not to have to throw the food away. Mm-hmm. And so it's definitely one of those things to get used to. It's either, because it's taught, and it's taught from a really young age. And it's about breaking those barriers. Is it better for you to throw this away than have to deal with it in weights and in your pounds? So thinking about it like that.
I'm there's no leftovers. I can't eat it tomorrow. That's
Or you can eat it tomorrow for sure. Absolutely. I mean, you can keep your leftovers, but I'm saying that was like one of the practices so that people would be comfortable at, either like, and then again, if you don't feel like eating it tomorrow, then you can throw it away. But there is no have to. It's all of the whole philosophy of intuitive eating is really getting in touch with your body, like being able to know. And we don't, like, what is it that I really want right now? And like, really, do we give ourselves that? Like, do I give myself what I really want? And allow that. So that's kind of the whole mentality behind it. I see another question from Betty. Yeah. Why is it that when men have standards for attraction, it's called shaming, but not seen as the same when women do? Like fit females. Yeah, this is another whole, this could be another whole, conversation. Yeah, it's just, again, and we create those as females. Like, we got to really be responsible for that too. We really create those standards sometimes for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's all about internalized voice in our head, that we say, it's okay if he does it, but I, and I mean, I'm not trying to say, because men definitely deal with body shaming and food shaming. I mean, again, we've seen studies, men that are not like shorter have less opportunities. If they're overweight, they have less opportunities for management and CEO opportunities on roles.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to point out, that I think everyone is capable of creating that environment of shame and shaming. And I don't think that it's a male or female conversation. As you were pointing out, men go through body shaming just as much as women do. And the direction it's coming from isn't always necessarily the opposite sex. It comes down from parents, it comes from the media. You mentioned policies earlier, and I actually wanted to ask about like discrimination and corporate discrimination, because I think that's a really good place to look at the fact that this isn't just a one-on-one context.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things I could say about policies. Again, I'm going to keep it into my expertise of nutrition policies. Like nutrition policies, let's talk about the school lunch program. Right? Like, and again, I know this isn't quite, but it is in a way, because again, so for a long time, the schools could say that they gave French fries and ketchup, and that was counting as 2 vegetables. And again, so the policies were driving a lot of the overweight and obesity. And again, we know that obesity starts young. And it, again, a lot of times the schools that are offering the food, again, if your population has over, I think they're still fighting this one. This policy is being updated, but for the moment, it's if the school has over 60% of their students that are low income, like the whole school gets the food for free. And but again, like, are we offering quality food? Are we providing fresh fruits and vegetables? Are we taking care of our community? Are we like really, again, so that's, I think, one thing about policy that I see, or like a lot of times I see people wanting to donate, but like what they're donating is cupcakes and pasta and like carbs. And again, like, yeah. And then we see that impacting, again, like if you're homeless and you're being offered a meal, like, is it okay that we're also giving you diabetes because we're offering you all these super high carbs, right? Yeah. So again, that's another whole conversation that we can talk about. It's just like not in the, but I think that the whole conversation of food, again, these are my passions. This is why I do what I do. I'm a big advocate of policies and like really making sure we have sound nutrition policies so that we can combat obesity, not like from a place of like shaming people, but like offering great food, offering nutritious food that tastes good. Who wouldn't want to eat like fresh strawberries that are cut up with blueberries? But again, like if we're offering French fries and ketchup as a vegetable, or as our two vegetables that are required, well, is that really, because again, like if you're in Beverly Hills, everyone's eating a salad, right? But are we offering that to everyone else? Can everyone else afford and have? I'm not like saying salad is a thing, but again, just being able to have fresh produce that are
a huge difference. I love that you brought up the lunch in schools program. I grew up on free lunch, and it was a whole conversation of like, carbs, cheese, tomato sauce, and like these really like baseline things. And I'm like, tomatoes aren't even a vegetable for ketchup to count as a vegetable. Like, and all the sugar and everything that they put into it,
right.
It perpetuates the health things that you see, like high sodium, high cholesterol, like you said, diabetes.
Yeah, like pizza is a favorite meal. And I'm not, again, I love pizza and there's nothing wrong with pizza. Again, one thing that I really practice is all foods are good. Like there are no bad foods, right? But it's like, how often am I eating this? And am I making sure I'm getting my vitamins and minerals? Am I getting my protein from like real foods? Not something that comes in a box that you can keep indefinitely. It doesn't even have an expiration date, right? And then again, enjoying the food, and again, like this whole perpetual cycle. Like, so again, I kind of want to go back to the body shaming, but again, it's all interconnected, right? Because it's like you are in this vicious cycle of there's that obesity stigma, and then there's stress, right? Then you are increased cortisol, and then you're eating more. And then what are you eating, right? Because what do you have access to? A hamburger is $1, a salad is $7, right? So
Right.
that whole conversation, and then weight gain, causes the obesity and weight stigma. And we continue in this cycle. And it's like, how we can break this cycle is by really bringing mindful eating, being mindful of what we're having. Like, how can I combat the stress by eating? How can I, again, going for a walk, just taking more steps, creating more activities outside. Again, having your own dancing, whatever works, again, instead of like trying to say, have someone else tell us, right? Like we get to say.
It's a balance. It's a balance. And, like having the fitness and having the health does not equate being thin. So I'm really hearing you say like, yes, do the things and do them for stress management, not for weight loss or weight reduction, but like do them with intention. One of the things that you pointed out before, and I don't know if we've really talked about it that much, but food shaming. I really wanted to get into that a little bit because like one of the things I experienced, and I still kind of deal with this, is like eating in public was always a problem for me, especially being overweight. It's like, like eating in public is not a big thing, but as someone who's large, it was like I couldn't eat in public without being criticized or like, something to that effect. Didn't matter what I was eating. And so I think that's something that, like, I don't even know if that's looked at in the realm of even being close to talked about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's being looked at. And It's huge. To me, it's one of the even more important conversations about, again, this whole categorization of good food versus bad food, right? Like, or the word healthy, right? Which does not, what does healthy mean? What does that mean? Right? We just know like kale is healthy, right? If you eat kale, you're good, right? Everything else pretty much, is not so good. And then it's like people start telling you, I mean, gosh, I'm a dietitian. How many times I've been told, oh, you just have to eat this and you'll be just fine. Or but again, it's a real thing about like one thing what really triggered me one time. It was right in the beginning of the pandemic, and and like all the stores were closed, and I went to 7-Eleven to get milk and like bananas. Like I was going for a run in the morning, and then one of like I was on a Zoom, and one of our friends was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're a dietitian and you go to 7-Eleven." And I thought, "Oh my God." I mean, it really was like one of those moments for me that really, I really made me think about, oh my God, like how must it be like for everybody, for other, like, how can this be like? So thank you for sharing about your personal experience. And this is very consistent with what we read, what we see. Again, if someone feels overweight, they don't feel comfortable eating, in public. Again, a lot. That's why one of the big reasons why we see drive-throughs be so popular is because people can eat in isolation. And we see that when you're doing that, you're not as present when you're eating, and you're not really paying attention. So again, bringing mindful eating to when you are eating is another critical way to combat both food shaming and body shaming. Because again, if you're present and eating, then you actually can experience when you're full and you can stop, as opposed to like, I always eat 2 of these, or whatever it is. And then you're not really being with the experience. You're not even enjoying the food, essentially. And again, as we eat more and make it okay, right? Again, someone's going to McDonald's. They're the number one food company in the world, right? Like, so, but how is it that everyone talks so bad about McDonald's, right? It's like, and is it really McDonald's, right? Because again, I feel like they've done a lot of great work. And again, I also get criticized for this, but I don't care. Like, I'm going to speak the truth. Like, to me, they offer a salad. They offer fresh apples. They offer, like different options for different people. They offer a veggie burger. They offer like, like they have everything that any other place would have. So, and I'm not yeah, I mean, exactly. So again, and I am against, it's like, if you're not going to shame, you're not going to shame. It's not like, well, this place is, McDonald's is okay to shame because they're really bad.
The people who go to McDonald's.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, but you can be one of those people that are going like, because you don't want anybody to know. Right. I've been to McDonald's and I have no problem saying that. Right. And it's just, I think that's what, and it's like, who knows, everyone's going to be like, oh, Mandy goes to McDonald's, right? Like, but that's like a real thing, right? But those are the kind of things that I think can stop this, like, or, oh, I go to the 99-cent store too. And I actually work and help a lot of our patients and our clients, like the hospitals that I cover, were safety net hospitals. So yeah, I'm not going to tell my patient go to Whole Foods, because that's not, and again, I don't that's fine. It's a great place. If you want to go and you can go. But again, to me, a fruit is a fruit. Is it better to buy organic? Sure, it's better to buy organic. But if you're stuck between buying organic apples or apples versus a bag of chips, then, eat it and eat a freaking apple. Like, again, I've had in my classes, in my nutrition classes that I teach, I've had students tell me, I'd rather eat a bag of chips than buy bananas from 7-Eleven. Like, literally, this is a real conversation. And I love that we can have these conversations. And these are the kind of conversations I have. It's like, I'd rather eat Spam than eat, spinach if it's not organic. Right? Because those are the kind of, I think sometimes like the miseducation that comes. It's like, really, you rather eat Spam than non-organic spinach, right? Because like, oh, it's been sprayed with a bunch of pesticides.
That's real. It's like vegetables or no vegetables is the option for a lot of people. It's like whether it's organic or not, and nutrition is important. It's important.
Yeah, and a lot of, again, marketing, a lot of again, I don't want to like go into that whole route of, again, the food companies, like food is a huge commodity, right? We literally have a pizza mafia. Like, again, I don't want to good, we're good. I swear these are real things, right?
Wow.
It's a huge business. It's a huge, right? Again, my commitment is people eating real foods and people eating foods that taste good, that nourishes them, and that they can really have access to it. And I see here a question about class has so much impact. Again, I think it does in so many levels, and it doesn't have to. We can really bring more awareness. Again, one of the things that is really important to me is to bring that level of awareness, because it makes it really hard. I mean, again, I think about like if I go to some of the like health food stores, the prices are so expensive, and can we really expect everyone to buy that? And again, I don't see how we can, and it doesn't mean that, again, like I said, I've gone and do go to the 99-cent store, and they have fresh vegetables. They do have that there. And a lot of times I see the exact same thing as I would see in, again, even Sprouts or Ralph's. And then there's places like Trader Joe's that I feel like do a really good job of offering their products at a lower price. But again, not everybody knows, and not everybody, wants to go. But again, I think some of that whole conversation comes to inside us, this whole cycle of access, and then again, the pressures. And even like if you start to want to like be more health conscious and start to exercise and bring that, again, a lot of times my students come and say like, well, my family's really pushing back, right? Like they don't like it. They tell me like I don't look good anymore. I lost too much weight. And it's like, oh, let's like, how do we bring about that awareness so that it's not like a threatening thing for, right? I don't know if it's making sense what I'm saying, but, just having that families not feel threatened by, if their daughter comes and says, hey, let's eat more fruits or vegetables, because it's outside of the norm, or like what, so that's another whole, like real conversation about it. It's like, how can you support and empower your family without making them wrong? Because a lot of times what happens is what their experience is you're coming saying I'm better, right? Like, listen to me, like, look at me, like I'm better now.
And there's
And
stigma. It's like now you're stigmatizing, the family versus, yeah, in
yeah,
so
yeah. So it's kind of, I don't know, if that, yeah, that, um,
yeah, it totally lands. I'm not gonna lie, I did that. I was like, you can't use margarine anymore. And it was like, what are you talking about? um,
right. Yeah. Yeah. And again, just like acknowledging it. How do I speak to my family in a way that they feel like, oh, we're on the same team?
right.
Like she's not talking down to me, or like we're creating a partnership together. Like, and again, I don't, these are big items that, again, as we're moving through, we can kind of really work on as a society. But again, shifting some of those conversations, shifting those norms, bringing acceptance. But it starts with people talking about it.
Yeah.
Again, our health professionals talking about it. Again, because all we see is the perfect skinny person on Instagram, getting even more Botox or um, right.
Everything.
And not like, I'm not trying to, there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying that that's what's being seen. So like if we're not seeing the normal person who looks like me and the girl next door, then how can we shift the conversation?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Before we wrap up, are there any other resources that you want to share?
Yeah, I have a ton of again there's articles kind of based on, like, I can definitely send some to you, Nika, some different webinars again about weight stigma and how it's actually driving the obesity epidemic, and then the intuitive eating conversation. Like, I would love to get into that a little bit more, like really talking about the 10 principles. If anyone hasn't read those books, again, I I started just following, and that's kind of I really believe in the work that's being done in that area and arena. So again, there are books you can borrow for free from the library, um, but it really shifts your mindset from a dieting perspective.
Perfect. So awesome. When you send those, we will get those posted along with
Sure.
the information. Yes, and thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was so great to be with you, and thank you for having me. I'm grateful for your commitment to people and to having everyone fully self-expressed, and just having that love be present for all.
Thank you. Yes. So thank you everyone for joining us today. This is the It Cast, our community outreach podcast that aims to increase diversity in conversations on health and sexuality. Through this work, we are creating a world where all people feel loved, honored, and respected. Please check out our Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit this October 23rd and 24th. You can find our tickets on Eventbrite. Also, visit our Patreon and support the ItCast, and you can learn more about this work at theitcast.com. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel and share this work with your community. Thank you so much, and we will see you here next week.